demonstrating the near present.
Hey, how's it going there, folks? Thanks for stopping by another Wilhelm ADHD video. So, for today we're going to talk about supplements and how to build a supplement plan. How to create a nootropic stack. Supplements on this channel are something that are frequently discussed, as you probably have noticed or can tell. So, I figure, why not give the steps as to how to create a supplement plan? For some people it might seem a little intricate, for some other people it might think it's quite simple, but it's a long process and it takes a lot of follow-up, and a lot of the time people with ADHD have difficulty with sustaining attention and with things that require a lot of follow-up and things that last quite a long time. But I'm here to tell you, if you really want to help out your ADHD, aiming to help your neurochemistry, your gut microbiome, and stuff of that nature is essential. People with ADHD have a lot of gene mutations in certain neurotransmitters, and this affects how much of a certain neurotransmitter we get. And a lot of the time, low levels of these neurotransmitters cause a lot of difficulty. So, these difficulties can arise in school, at work, at home, and it can ruin our life. It can make our life a whole lot more difficult. So, when I started researching ADHD, I saw how important the assistance of supplement was in treatment. So, what I'm going to do for today is I'm going to discuss how to create your own supplement plan. Both for those who want to take supplements by themselves, maybe people who don't want to take medication, and also a supplement plan for those of us who take stimulant medication and want to take supplements at the same time. That's what I personally do. I take low-dose stimulant medication, and I also take supplements as well. And this has really and tremendously helped me turn my life around since my mid-20s. It's helped me obtain goals and do things I never thought I'd be able to do. So, with that being said, let's see what's up. Let's see what our options are. Let's see what our strategies are. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, folks, I want to talk about some rules we gotta abide by. And these are rules and things I've noticed in my research of supplement intake that are kind of the common go-tos, the things to do and not to do and what to look out for. So these are things to really take into consideration. But most importantly, remember to talk to your healthcare professional, your doctor, or whomever you see when it comes to taking supplements. Find out if it's okay, if it works with your body, find out what you're allergic to. You want to be on the safe side if you're going to be taking supplements, especially if you're going to be going through a trial and error process. So once again, to reiterate, speak to your healthcare professional or doctor if you're going to be taking supplements. And also, as a little side note, if they don't know like anything about supplements, which I've been told by quite a bit of people, or if your psychiatrist or psychologist doesn't know about these supplements, don't be surprised, because supplements are something that the FDA in many instances is not approved, because in order for the FDA to approve certain things, it has to go through a long, rigorous trial and error process with participants, and it requires a lot of research. And that's a whole bureaucratic empire within itself. So you can either do one of multiple options. You can wait until the research comes out, or you can just be like me and say, screw it, you know what? This is my life. I'm living it. I want to tame my ADHD. Let me do some research. And once I found out that the current diet we have now, the common diet that we have here in the U.S., is not the most healthy diet. And once I started seeing how much our diet and our life gets impacted by our diet when we start dieting and living a lifestyle that's more similar to our nomadic ancestors, because I do truly believe in the theory of ADHD being a hunter-gatherer trait or collective traits that were needed back then. But that's a whole other subject matter. Anyways, with that being said though, a lot of our ancestors consumed foods that were high in some of the stuff that some of these supplements have, because a lot of supplements are either vitamins, herb, minerals, and all sorts of different things that assist our neurochemistry that has been impacted, and mostly negatively impacted, by co-founding factors that include our diet, how we live our life, how often we're outside, how much we exercise, how little we don't exercise, and etc., etc., etc. So, for those of you who are interested further in diets and how that impacts ADHD, there should be a link above for those of you who want to check that out. But anyway though, enough of the infomercial. Let's dive into the 7 rules we should consider when creating a supplement plan. Let's take a look. Things to consider. The rules. Rule number 1. Some supplements work great with some people while some do not. It's going to be a trial and error process. If you notice you're getting bad side effects, whether that be itchiness, dry skin, gum pain, watery eyes, or I don't know, passing out, stuff like that, yeah, the supplement might not be for you. So if you're seeing quite a bit of bad side effects or some major ones, yeah, that supplement probably is not going to be good for your body neurochemistry, and you might want to try something else. Rule number 2, aim to get supplements that are of good quality with little to no artificial ingredients. Lots of artificial ingredients / food colorings negatively impact ADHD. So really take that into consideration. Number 3, start at the lowest dosage possible and work up if necessary. Some supplements are very effective for some people at certain doses, while being really ineffective for other people at that same dose. Trial and error process. I've taken certain supplements that were ineffective at a certain dose because it was too low, that I just got a higher dosage and boom, I'm like, wow, alright, what a difference. I've also had the opposite experience where I got a supplement that is too high in a dosage and I'm like, whoa, I do not like how this supplement is making me feel or what it's causing. But then I try a lower dosage of it and it's like, oh wow, quite the difference. This is why it's recommended to start at the lowest dosage possible to eliminate the unnecessary. So number 4, try to avoid simultaneously taking supplements that do the same thing. L-theanine and L-tryptophan, for example. Let's take into consideration the neurotransmitter serotonin, which we will speak about more so in just a minute. So, but for right now though, serotonin is just a supplement it's a feel-good neurotransmitter. It's all you need to know. So anyway, if I take a supplement like L-theanine that assists with serotonin, and then at the same time, I take an L-tryptophan supplement that also assists with serotonin, that's not advised to do. You don't want to take 2 supplements at the same time to do the same thing, because that could cause issues. Too much of a neurotransmitter, in this example, like serotonin, is not a good thing. It could lead to what's known as serotonin syndrome, which has a bunch of bad side effects and all that stuff. So be careful. For instance, for me, I use both of those supplements, but at different hours of the day. I'll take L-theanine along with collagen and N-acetyltyrosine when I wake up in the morning before work, and it works quite nicely. And then 6 hours later, before lunch, I'll take L-tryptophan. They're taken hours apart, so if you're going to take supplements that do similar things, you want to separate them by a few hours. I would say 4 plus, give or take. So everyone's different. Number 5, do your own research as well. Also follow up. Guess what, folks? Research changes. What we know today or understand at this very second to minute might change tomorrow, might change next month, next year, the next decade. So we need to follow up on that sometimes, and we need to see if there's something out that's even better, or if we have better information that can assist in a better quantity, that can assist perhaps in a better manner. So, something to consider. It's just, research comes out all the time. It's good to stay on top of it every so often. Point number 6, consider getting your neurotransmitters tested. So, for those of you who don't know what neurotransmitters are, they're chemicals of the brain, and this is going to be a layman's term, so to speak. Chemicals of the brain that cause different sorts of actions, emotions, and things, and etc., etc. We'll get more into it later. So right now, that's the TLDR version, okay? Bear with me. So, there's neurotransmitter tests out there that range from the price of $40 to about $300 from what I've seen online. And I've heard all sorts of varying reviews. Some people say they're effective, some people say they're ineffective because they don't account for certain areas of the body that create certain neurotransmitters just because it's hard to detect. So this is up to you. I would recommend to research it on Google. I myself have not done this just because I'm pretty content with my current supplement plan. I've done some modifications the last 2 months, but currently I like where I'm at. But I do believe in the future there's going to be neurotransmitter tests that are perhaps a little more affordable and not around the $300 range that can do an effective job at detecting either all or a good amount of or neurotransmitters are being emitted from to really get a good grasp on the levels. So, but for right now though, at least it's something. So some people really benefit from it. Maybe you can too. I don't know. But anyway, do some research. Number 7, to assess whether a supplement is working effectively, reflect and take note to see if the symptoms that you're trying to assist are being assisted efficiently, enough or lack thereof. So basically, look to see what neurotransmitter you're trying to help out and what difficulties come with that neurotransmitter if it's low. And you have to see, is the supplement assisting in that area? Is it doing a good job meeting the needs that I have, the things that I have difficulty with because of the ADHD? And on top of that, if it's not causing you any bad side effects, then it's a pretty good indicator that that might be a supplement to consider. That might be helpful. I usually give myself a week to try a supplement. If after the first day I'm really not liking how I'm feeling, or really not liking a side effect or whatever, then that supplement probably isn't for me. But if I feel that it's good and beneficial, I'll give it a week, and then I'll be like, all right, well, if it worked out for a week, let me give it a month. And after a month, then I'm like, okay, then this is a supplement that I'm now going to keep in my regimen. So it's really a trial and error process, and you really have to kind of stick with it. So it's something that you got to have a lot of determination for. But it truly is possible. I believe it.
There is a sale today in channel serving beyond the
So those are the rules and things to consider, really important things to consider when trying out or going through the trial and error process of supplement intake. So I just want to let you all know that underneath in the description section, I've left a bunch of links to a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about here, including the list of supplements and also including a downloadable PDF/Word doc or whatever the hell, we'll see what ends up happening, where you can download it, and that way you can see the list and see the neurotransmitter and see the little recommendations on the side, and then also perhaps write down perhaps something you found that works for you, and then you can digress from there and take notes. So I want to provide resources for those who feel that they need it or could benefit from it, because Creating a supplement plan is not that easy. Some people really prefer to take a all-in-one type of supplement, and those are an option, and we will talk slightly about that as well. So now let's jump into the supplement nootropic stack building phase. And how do we do that? How do we create a supplement plan for ourselves? First neurotransmitter that we're going to delve into here is the neurotransmitter serotonin. Now, serotonin is a neurotransmitter that deals with mood regulation, sleep, nervousness, empathy, appetite, digestion, and sexual urges. It is made from an amino acid called tryptophan. Your body does not make tryptophan, so it is essential to acquire it from food and or supplements. Serotonin receptors are found throughout different parts of the body, central, peripheral nervous system, and the brain. So as we can see, serotonin is a really important neurotransmitter. People who lack serotonin have issues with anxiety. For serotonin, the options that we have in the corner over here, as you can see, are number one, L-theanine. L-theanine is a supplement that is quite helpful for serotonin. Now, it is not recommended to take all of these. And remember, as we said earlier, remember one of the rules, not to take supplements at the same time and do the same thing? Yeah, it can be a little dangerous. So just want to give a heads up. Again, so anyway, L-theanine. Lowest dosage I've seen, usually 100 milligrams. I have one from the company Dro Formulas. L-tryptophan, the source itself for serotonin. This is a bit higher in terms of how it helps with serotonin. It helps out a bit more than L-theanine. L-theanine is a bit lower, but there are higher dosages. But L-tryptophan is for those that want a bit more serotonin. And glycine is just another option. And I really like glycine so far. I'm not taking it as a supplement standalone. Instead, I'm taking it with a gut collagen from the company Bulletproof that has glycine in it, and it's, my goodness, wow, it's extremely beneficial, I believe, and one that has synergistic qualities, according to someone that mentioned it on here in the comment section, and I gotta say, it's very impressive. I've been taking it for the last couple of months. So anyway, those are some 3 options for serotonin, and there are plenty of other ones if those are not to your liking or function. So that's it for serotonin. So as you can see now, we have added the addition of good old L-theanine, 100 milligrams, Dro Formula, and we've added L-tryptophan, that's 500 milligrams, both assistants for serotonin. So those are some options. You can find these on Amazon. They're not all that expensive. These usually range from 15 to 20 bucks. And L-theanine is like $8, but from what some people have told me, it feels like a body massage to them when they take this. And I gotta say, man, it's a nice little thing. It's like green tea in a little supplement. I think it's great. And I take these 2 daily. And glycine, just use your imagination and pretend it's here. So, let's move on to the next neurotransmitter we're going to address now, shall we? So, next neurotransmitters we're going to address are going to be dopamine and norepinephrine for number 2. So, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that affects your levels of concentration, focus, motivation, pleasure senses, memory, cognition, and sleep, etc., etc. Dopamine, along with the neurotransmitter norepinephrine, are the 2 main neurotransmitters that most stimulant medications work with, along with serotonin to a lesser extent in regards to the medication. So, very important, dopamine is one of the head honchos when it comes to the neurotransmitters of difficulty for those of us with ADHD, with its partner in crime, norepinephrine. Now, norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter and stress hormone that deals with attentiveness, emotions, impulse control, planning ahead, sleep, interpreting actions of others, etc. Dopamine also synthesizes norepinephrine, i.e., if we have low quality or low amounts of dopamine, guess what? We're going to have low quality or low amounts of norepinephrine as well. So they correlate. That's why they're on the same list here. And to reiterate, dopamine, norepinephrine are the main neurotransmitters that most stimulant medication works with. So my number one go-to for dopamine and norepinephrine is the supplement N-acetyltyrosine. It's made from what eggs are made from. And it is quite helpful as a supplement to take when you get up in the morning, when you need that get up and go feeling. A lot of the times why it takes some of us 40 minutes to an hour to get out of bed sometimes is because we don't have enough of this. We don't have enough dopamine or norepinephrine to get the motivation to get up and move. Not to mention, since a lot of us stay up so late and get oh so little sleep, yeah, we're going to have even lower dopamine and norepinephrine because of that. So those of us who take 45 minutes and need to have a bucket of water and the window open with the sunshine just coming in and all that jazz and fireworks, who need all that extra help, it's probably because you got low dopamine and norepinephrine, or because your quality of sleep is lackluster, or both. So that can be addressed. It just takes a little discipline. Anyway, though, besides N-acetyltyrosine, and I do recommend the N-acetyl type of tyrosine, not just the regular old L-tyrosine, because the acetylation process, or the acetyl process, is a very important process when it comes to ADHD. It's spoken about a bit in my Diet ADHD video, which I put a link of earlier, and there's a link above again for those of us perhaps who weren't paying attention. If you want to check out how ADHD is impacted by the gut microbiome, mitochondria, the acetyl process, the methylation process, and a bunch of other stuff you probably have no idea of. So I recommend it, just all in fun. All in fun and good health. So anyway, moving on. I jabber quite about, but I mean well. Number 2, grapeseed extract also assists with serotonin and adrenaline. Grapeseed extract is a great all-in-one style supplement that assists with dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, and adrenaline. Honestly, that's great. If that supplement assisted with acetylcholine, I'd be like, bam, you're knocking out almost all the major issues with ADHD to an extent. So, grapeseed extract is a great supplement to start off with. For those of you who have not tried supplements and would like to try out, remember to speak to your healthcare professional, provider, or doctor and see if it's cool. It's a great supplement that has been of assistance to quite a bit of people I've spoken to, and a supplement I take myself at the end of the day most of the time because it's great and helpful in so many ways. I actually have a video dedicated specifically to OPCs and what grapeseed extract can do and how it benefits ADHD in a really great manner. There is a link above if you want to check it out. And third on the list here we have NADH. Now this is a supplement that I don't take, but has been reported to me by multiple people that is of great benefit and help to them. So I wanted to put it on here. I don't take it myself because I found issues with some side effects, and including like my gums just felt really tight and just really dry skin, so I didn't continue to take it. But it's helped out other people that I know, so it might be something that can help you out. So that's it for dopamine and norepinephrine. So as we can see now, we got a couple of newcomers to the table. We have our good friend N-acetyltyrosine right here from the company Nootropics Depot, 350 milligrams. Really high quality N-acetyltyrosine compared to the Gero Formulas one I used to take, but nonetheless, the Gero Formulas one is really good too, but I prefer this one. And OPC plus 95, this is for the grapeseed extract, 100 milligrams. Game changer right here. This helps your brain emit the type of waves that people who meditate frequently get. And research has shown that people with ADHD get the type of waves that cause us to be distractible. And this can cause a lot of issues of irritability due to frustration. So OPC plus 95, grapeseed extract, really helpful. It's not recommended to take at the same time or around the same time as your medication because this has a buttload of vitamin C, ascorbic acid, which basically dilutes stimulant medication, so not recommended. That's why I take it towards the end of the day, either after or before dinner. Good supplement. So now let's jump into the next neurotransmitter that should be addressed and assisted in this supplement making plan. Acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that deals with muscle contraction, pain responses, mood regulation, REM sleep, and coordination. It is also important for the formation of new memories. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that I really lacked growing up because I constantly felt discomfort with a lot of my muscle contractions and movements, and I just felt a lot of unease, and also my mood was not at ease. And I noticed that when I started supplementing with the first supplement recommended there on the list, R-alpha lipoic acid, it made a gigantic difference and helped mellow me out and helped relax my body, which in turn helped me feel less tense. So a lot of people who smoke cigarettes and smoke them frequently, or feel the need to smoke them frequently, a lot of the time, some of those people could have ADHD. And the cigarette, what it does, cigarettes have nicotine, and the nicotine in the cigarettes causes the brain to upregulate the acetylcholine, basically, because it mimics the function once it hits the receptors. So the brain makes more acetylcholine, but at the same time, this doesn't last too long, which is why you'll see some people who smoke cigarettes have to do it every hour, 45 minutes or whatever, frequently. And acetylcholine, if you get a supplement that helps out with that, like for instance for me, I take R-alpha lipoic acid once a day, and it gets the job done. My body feels a lot more relaxed, and I can sleep better, and my workouts feel a little more smooth because of it. It's one of the many things I take for the workouts. Anyway, though, or we have the other option, CDP. Choline also helps slightly with dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. So there we see it's a supplement that helps out with multiple neurotransmitters. So choline is helpful for making acetylcholine, and we got a gene mutation that happens between the two that affects the amount of acetylcholine we're going to be getting, unfortunately. So CDP choline could be a good option for those of you who want to try, and for those of you who it works for. I tried CDP choline, put me to sleep almost. It's like giving Eeyore a sedative. It didn't work with me. I have an intensive ADHD though. For those of you who probably have hyperactive or combined type ADHD, CDP choline might be just what the doctor ordered. I don't know. You gotta find out and try, if you indeed want to. Moving on, or we have alpha GPC. Also helps with dopamine. Interesting. Alpha GPC only helps out with acetylcholine and dopamine. So, as we can see, some of these supplements assist with more than one neurotransmitter. So that's something to take into consideration. So, as you can see, we have a new addition to the table. We have R-alpha lipoic acid, 200 milligrams. Take the supplement once daily. Great assistance for acetylcholine. So now let's move on to the next thing we're going to take care of. Let's find out. Number 4, B12. B12 is a vitamin and one of the 8 B vitamins. It is also a cofactor helper molecule in DNA synthesis and myelin synthesis. A myelin sheath is a substance that covers neurons, similar to a cable. B12 is also a helper molecule for the synthesis of neurotransmitters dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, and GABA. All these neurotransmitters are usually low in people with ADHD, and some research has shown that people who lack B12 usually have a low libido or low sex drive, which is something I've noticed with a lot of people I've worked with that have inattentive ADHD. And this causes issues in relationships, especially if you're dating someone who has a high libido. Because people with ADHD can either be hyposexual, meaning that they have a low libido, and it's probably because of the gene mutation in B12, which makes us get less B12. Or the individual with ADHD can be hypersexual, where their libido is sky high for a different reason. So supplementing with B12 can be of great assistance. Now, what type of B12? There are multiple types of B12. The type of B12 that is recommended to get is the bioactive type of B12, which is the methylcobalamin form of B12, as opposed to the cyanocobalamin, which is the more synthetic type of B12 that you'll notice in a lot of multivitamins and standalones. So, once again, B12 methylcobalamin form. Or you can try as well a multivitamin with B12 methylcobalamin form. Just a word of caution, if you're going to increase your B12 intake, it changes quite a bit of you to an extent. So with great power comes great responsibility, and just keep yourself on check. So now, as we can see, we have a new friend here, the Fabio enhancer, as I like to call it. B12, methylcobalamin form, 1,000 micrograms. Gero formulas, take it every day. Can't go without it. It's a great supplement that's of a lot of help. It's also going to help you take away all the lethargy, just the feeling of just dread and being tired, and just that comes with lacking B12. Supplementing with a B12 methylcobalamin form vitamin can make quite a difference, and there's different dosages of it available. So now let's go to the next difficulty we got to help out when it comes to ADHD. Let's take a look. Number 5, people with ADHD have issues with short-term memory and thought fluidity. So, what can we do to help out with that? Because short-term memory issues and being able to think coherently without a bunch of distractions coming your way that assist our thought flow is a major issue with ADHD. So what's helpful for that? PS100. PS100 promotes cognitive function, emotional well-being, and behavioral performance by supporting cell membrane composition. PS100 may help support daily performance that involve memory-related tasks, and also helps with thought fluidity and organizing thought flow. So, very helpful supplement. There's even an ADHD medication that is basically PS100 with omega-3, 6, and 9 oil combined. That has been quite helpful to quite a bit of families and individuals from what I've seen from testimonies on the website Health Unlocked. So something to consider maybe. PS100 is really helpful. I supplement with it myself, but at the same time there are other options of what you might want to consider when it comes to assisting short-term memory. Some people say that lion's mane is quite helpful for them in that regard. Lion's mane is a mushroom type of supplement. And some people take maca root as well, which is another type of supplement. So there are many different options, folks. We just got to do our research. There's a link down below of this gentleman that has an intensive ADHD that put together the greatest archive I think I've ever seen of supplements and information on those supplements. Also in regards to ADHD and links to research and whatnot. So definitely worth checking out if you want to see what other supplements are out there that can assist with this, because this is an issue that is quite big when it comes to ADHD. So now we've taken care of PS100 and added it to the table. PS100 by Gero Formula is 100 milligrams. Quite a helpful supplement that is a neuromodulator. Think of it as sort of a drill sergeant, making sure all the other neurotransmitters are doing their functions and whatnot. So a supplement I've taken the last couple of years that really helps out with speech flow, thought fluidity, and speaking. And they also have it in higher dosages. I just happen to find 100 milligrams to be my optimal dose. But for some people, they take 200 or more. So PS100, really helpful supplement. Let's go on now to the next thing we got to take care of, and this one's quite important, so let's pay attention now. Number 6, issues with gut microbiome and mitochondria. I want to emphasize that your gut microbiome is like a second brain, according to what a lot of people are saying. It's really important. And if we got a lot of issues with the gut, the ADHD is going to be off the wall bonkers, and we're going to have a lot of problems. Mitochondria, also quite important. Physiological importance in both of these things that make quite a gigantic difference to our ADHD, so we got to address them. And how do we address them? What's one of the options we got is creatine monohydrate. Now creatine, the monohydrate form of creatine, is said to be the most bioactive. That's why I recommend it. So what is creatine? Creatine, a commonly used dietary supplement, plays an important role in maintaining gut barrier function. So basically, imagine your gut. Imagine the lining of your gut, basically like a fence. So creatine assists in all the shenanigans from your gut not going out to the rest of your body and causing havoc and chaos and all these negative side effects that happen because of that. That's what leaky gut essentially is. When a bunch of crap from the gut just gets out and starts causing madness and mayhem everywhere. I talk about it more in that diet video, and no, I'm not going to put another link for it. I feel so cheap doing it for the third time, so you're going to have to just backtrack. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't do it. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So anyway, I do recommend creatine monohydrate for that, to create a good barrier to your gut. So anyway, creatine also increases energy production in your mitochondria. That extra energy enhances brain function, muscle strength, and your overall performance. So, really important. Creatine is quite helpful, and I take it daily and have seen quite a difference in myself since I've started taking it daily. So now we see the addition of good old creatine monohydrate from the company Now Sports. I used to take some from Jera Formulas, but they're low in stock. In a couple of months, y'all, I'll get it together. Anyway, just kidding. But I actually, you know what? I really do like the Now Sports one. I think it's quite good. It's 750 milligrams. This thing says to take 6 capsules, but I just take 5 because I feel 6 is way too much. So it goes to show you how I modify it for myself. And it's quite helpful. It takes off the edge when you're hungry. It helps you focus better. It helps out with clearer thinking. And I don't know, it just helps with the get up and go feeling that a lot of people with ADHD have difficulty with. It's like if you sit down in a chair, you're screwed. You're not going to get the thing done. This helps. So, perhaps one of the options you might want to look at to assist your mitochondria and your gut microbiome, which are quite important when it comes to ADHD. So now let's go on to the part where we talk about the supplement plan to consider for those who take stimulant medication, because there are some important things we need to consider when we're taking stimulant medication, because stimulant medication brings over a lot of side effects and can alter a lot of physiological stuff. So we need to take care of ourselves and be more on the safe side if we indeed plan on doing that. And also, taking supplements is also greatly helpful for assisting the medication and helping the medication work to its full potential. So that's why I think pairing the two, supplements and stimulant medication, can be quite helpful and done in a safe, rational manner. So now let's talk about the supplements we can take to assist our ADHD when taking stimulant medication as well. Let's take a look. Number 1, CoQ10. Now, I don't mean to sound like a little drama queen here, but I really do feel like a lot of hospitals and psychiatrists should start recommending coenzyme 10, which is what CoQ10 is short for, should really recommend it to their clients who take stimulant medication, because stimulant medication increases your heart rate and blood pressure, and sometimes to dangerous levels. So coenzyme 10, CoQ10, is really helpful for keeping your blood pressure and heart rate stable. Now let's find out, what is CoQ10? CoQ10 is an antioxidant that your body produces naturally. Your cells use CoQ10 for growth and maintenance. Your body naturally produces CoQ10, but makes less of it the older you get. CoQ10 helps keep your heart rate and blood pressure stable. Both of those tend to rise up when you take ADHD stimulant medication, and this can cause problems. So, real quick, I'll share some little story of myself. When I started taking stimulant medication in my mid-20s, in the middle of my undergrad, I would go to the gym a lot, and I would also skateboard a lot to kind of de-stress myself from the workload that is your undergrad years. For those of you who've been to college, you know what I'm talking about. And I noticed that when I started running on the treadmill or skateboarding, or longboarding rather, that my heart rate would go up, and I was like, has not happened to me before while skating or running. So immediately I knew it was because of the medication, and once I started taking coenzyme 10, that never happened again. So perhaps something you might want to consider to keep your heart rate and blood pressure safe. Or if you're getting older and feel that CoQ10 can be of some help to you. So that's it for that one. So now we see on the table here, we see the addition of CoQ10, coenzyme 10. I take it by the company Jura Formulas, only 100 milligrams, quite helpful, and keeps my heart rate and blood pressure stable. So definitely a keeper, and one of the earliest supplements I started taking in my journey of supplement intake. So let's move on. Number 2, magnesium, chelated buffered magnesium. Magnesium, particularly chelated buffered magnesium, is one of the best absorbed forms of magnesium that is great for digestion, especially in helping the body digest stimulant medication. It is also helpful for ATP synthesis, which people with ADHD seem to have an issue with due to a gene mutation within the ADP through ATP cycle. As we now see on the table here, we have magnesium, chelated buffered magnesium to be exact. Really helpful, helps digest food, and is beneficial in so many ways. Magnesium, I really feel, is a very underrated supplement, and that a lot of people, I really feel, should be taking. And since this is the most absorbed type, meaning that your body is going to absorb this the most, I really recommend it. It's really good. It helps digest the medication, helps smoothen out the medication, and was one of the earliest supplements, along with coenzyme 10, that I started taking when my journey began with stimulant medication in my mid-20s, and it's been of great assistance. So I recommend it for those of you who take stimulant medication, perhaps. Let's go on now to the next point. We go on now to point number 3. We got the omega oils. Now, a lot of research has been done in the omega oils, and we've seen how beneficial they are for a good amount of things. In this case, they're really good for ADHD. They're really helpful in a different variety of ways if you look into the assistance that omega oils 3, 6, and 9 do. If we take a look at the picture above, there you go. You'll see some of the benefits brought forth from omega oils 3, 6, and 9. And like I mentioned earlier, there's an ADHD medication that is basically just PS100 and the 3 omega oils. And a lot of people have said it's quite helpful because it's not stimulant medication, because not everybody wants to take stimulant medication. Nonetheless, if you are taking stimulant medication, though, the omega oils are very, very essential. They're very helpful in smoothing out the medication and also in helping absorb the medication and a variety of other things, which is why I feel it is crucial. Not to mention omega oils 3, 6, and 9 are going to help out your ADHD in general, so it's like, why not? So as we now see, we have a new assistant on the table here. We got good old flaxseed oil, 1,000 milligrams. Flaxseed oil carries omega oils 3, 6, and 9. The reason why I don't take fish oil is because fish oil causes me to break out, and a lot of fish oil has mercury in it, which is not good for you, and a bunch of other stuff. So I prefer to take flaxseed oil because I feel it gets the job done, minus the shenanigans that fish oil brings. For me, it doesn't mean fish oil won't work for you. There's a lot of people I know who take fish oil that find a lot of benefit from it. But for me, it's flaxseed oil, so to each their own. Anyway, let's move on now to the next point. Number 4, we got a multivitamin, preferably an organic one with B12 methylcobalamin. When taking stimulant medication, your body is going to need quite a bit of vitamins and nutrients. And a multivitamin can be quite helpful for this. So, I remember when I first started taking stimulant medication and I wasn't taking a multivitamin, I would get random little side effects that completely went away when I started taking a multivitamin. And this is perhaps due to the more of an increased need for certain nutrients and vitamins, because when you take stimulant medication, your body goes through some changes and you are going to need some extra nutrients and vitamins, so a multivitamin can be beneficial for that. As we can see on the table here, I have a multivitamin that I take. I have this gummy multivitamin that I take called Nootropic Vitamin Gummies. Really helpful. And it has the B12 methylcobalamin form. Who'd have thunk it? So, quite good. And maybe something you might want to try out. There are plenty of other companies that do great multivitamins. This just happens to be the one I take and I like because it's one of the few I found that has the B12 methylcobalamin form. So, that's what I take. Let's go on to the next point. Number 5, stimulant medication gives some people difficulty with sleep. What can we do about that? Melatonin. Melatonin, particularly 300 micrograms of melatonin, is considered an optimal dosage of melatonin from studies. Apparently, when melatonin was synthesized in the mid part of the previous century, 300 micrograms was the dosage that it was synthesized with. And it's said to be the most optimal dosage. I've tried multiple and I gotta agree, 300 micrograms is that sweet spot. It really helps me out. So anyway, the human brain secretes melatonin. Yet due to people with ADHD lacking serotonin, a precursor to melatonin, we lack melatonin. Supplementing with melatonin before going to sleep can greatly assist with sleep quality. As we can see now, we have a new assistant to the table. We have melatonin here, 300 micrograms as mentioned. I take it from the company Life Extension. And the cool thing is it's a 6-hour timed release. So it's not like most supermarkets or grocery stores that sell melatonin that's an instant release. What happens with a lot of instant release melatonin is that the brain will secrete, the pineal gland particularly, will secrete melatonin almost like instantly, just in the beginning. And then boom, the rest of the night you have low quality or little to no melatonin. So what I like about this company is that it has a 6-hour timed release, so you can get melatonin throughout the night as opposed to just in the beginning. And that lower dosage of 300 micrograms for some reason seems to be more efficient from what people have told me and from reviews I've seen. And I gotta say, from my own anecdotal evidence, from what I experienced, 300 micrograms of melatonin seems to be optimal. I also pair this with collagen and also take N-acetyltyrosine as well, because all those neurotransmitters, dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, have a great deal of impact to do with sleep. So, but for this case, though, we're just talking about melatonin. So, definitely helpful for sleep, because stimulant medication can keep people up, especially if they take the medication a little later in the day. So, something to consider, melatonin. Now, let's go on to the next point. Alright, number 6, next point. Stimulant medication crash. This has to do because of our low levels of dopamine and norepinephrine. What ends up happening is after your brain has had the help and assistance from stimulant medication throughout the day, the 6-hour or 12-hour release one, there's different hours. What ends up happening is that after your medication wears off, your dopamine and norepinephrine levels, and also I guess serotonin as well, since it's slightly increased with stimulant medication, yeah, they're gonna be lower than they usually are. It's gonna take your brain just a little time to readjust back to homeostasis, meaning the natural levels your brain makes of those neurotransmitters. So what can be done to assist with that is to take a supplement that helps out with dopamine and norepinephrine, taking it maybe 30 minutes to an hour before your medication wears off. That way you'll be able to avoid the medication crash, which is a feeling of either sadness or irritability or just outright just apathy and lethargy that some people go through once the ADHD medication wears off. So, a little information here to reiterate again for those of you who forgot the first part, is that dopamine is a neurotransmitter that affects your levels of concentration, focus, motivation, pleasure senses, memory, cognition, sleep. Dopamine, along with the neurotransmitter norepinephrine, are the two main neurotransmitters that most stimulant medications work with. So, that part I said earlier, so just to reiterate again about norepinephrine as well. Norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter and stress hormone that deals with attentiveness, emotions, impulse control, planning ahead, sleep, interpreting actions of others, etc. Dopamine also synthesizes norepinephrine. So, now that we've reviewed that, supplementing with N-acetyltyrosine 30 minutes to an hour before your medication, stimulant medication, wears off can help eliminate / diminish the medication crash. Or you can also supplement with grapeseed extract, which also assists with serotonin and adrenaline. As I mentioned before, grapeseed extract, great supplement that helps out with multiple neurotransmitters of difficulty. So, as we can see now, we got N-acetyltyrosine back on the table again, same one from earlier, and we have grapeseed extract. So, if your medication is wearing off and you're not going to take medication again that day, taking grapeseed extract might be helpful. See, that's what I do, because I just take one dosage a day. So I take grapeseed extract when the dosage wears off, because this helps out with dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, and adrenaline as well, but mainly focusing on dopamine, norepinephrine. So it helps pick those things back up, so that way I avoid the crash. And N-acetyltyrosine does that as well, just with dopamine and norepinephrine. So, some options to consider for that. Let's go on to the next point. And for the final point here, in creating a supplement plan for stimulant medication as well, is number 7, stimulant medication losing effectiveness. Stimulant medication is reported to stop working as effectively as it did earlier on for a good amount of people with ADHD. This has to do with our reward system, dopamine and serotonin. Even though stimulant medication does increase serotonin, it is rather slight in comparison to dopamine and norepinephrine. Research has shown that if dopamine keeps being increased at larger amounts, serotonin levels start to go down. This also happens vice versa. This can cause major irritability and to feel like the medication is not working as effectively as it used to. So this started happening to me as well, perhaps like 2 months into when I first started taking stimulant medication. Mind you, I take a very low dose stimulant medication because I don't really feel like I need that much. I have intensive ADHD, I have no hyperactivity. The only time I get hyper and crazy and all that stuff is when I'm on stage performing music or doing something of that nature. But most of the time I'm pretty relaxed and calm. But some people with ADHD require more of a dosage, and that's completely understandable. People shouldn't be shamed for the medication they take for their condition. So anyway, now some things to take note of. Listen carefully here. For those who take a lower dose stimulant medication, perhaps 20 milligrams or lower, give or take, supplementing with N-acetyltyrosine to help out with dopamine and norepinephrine, perhaps a few minutes before you have a meal, is quite helpful. So what I do in my own case is that I'll take N-acetyltyrosine perhaps 10 minutes or so before I eat, or maybe right before I eat, and then 10 minutes later, after I take N-acetyltyrosine and I'm in the middle of my meal, 10 minutes to be exact, this is how I timed this is the most efficient for me, it could be different for you, but 10 minutes later I take L-tryptophan. So at that point I'm assisting dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin because of the L-tryptophan. So once I finish eating and get all the natural increase in the other neurotransmitters through the meal I'm eating, and ideally you're eating something healthy here in this example, then what I do is afterwards I'll take a mixture of a lot of the supplements we mentioned earlier, and then afterwards I'll take my medication a few minutes later. So at that point I have already compensated for dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine, and the fact that if you continuously take stimulant medication, your dopamine is going to keep rising up along with norepinephrine, but your serotonin is going to go down. So some people can get really on edge and angry. So what I do is I'll take those two supplements. So what I'll do is I'll take those two supplements around mealtime, whether it be lunch or whether it be breakfast for some people. And then I find that doing this helps my medication work more effectively. And I find that doing this helps my medication work more effectively. Because what ends up happening is a lot of people are given the option by their psychiatrist or hospital to increase the dosage of their medication. And I really don't feel that's the smartest thing to do. At least for me, I don't do that. I don't want to increase my dosage. My dosage is quite low, and it works for me because it's my therapeutic dose. Your therapeutic dose is a dosage that's effective for helping out your condition, as opposed to a dosage that's for having a good time, which is not recommended. So with my optimal dose of stimulant medication, I'll take N-acetyltyrosine and L-tryptophan, because I take lower than 20 milligrams. But for those of us who take higher stimulant medication dosages, i.e. 20 milligrams or higher, yeah, then perhaps you might want to try out N-acetyltyrosine with L-theanine instead. L-theanine, as mentioned earlier, is a supplement that helps out with serotonin, but just to a lesser extent. It's also lower in the dosage amount. So that's something you might want to consider. So the reason why I take supplements around food is because a lot of supplements I take are required to be taken with food. Otherwise your stomach is going to feel like crap. So it's helpful to take them with food. And I pair these with other supplements that could be taken with or without food. So I figure, let me take them all at the same time. Now, in this video, I don't really talk about the time of the day when I take supplements or when to take supplements. I just talk about creating a supplement plan. But if you're curious as to how I take my supplements throughout the day and how I pair them, I have a video that goes into full detail about that. There's a link above if you want to check that out. But for this video, I'm mainly talking about how to create a supplement plan as opposed to when to take supplements. So with that in mind, these are the rules and things to consider when creating a nootropic stack / supplement plan. Let's move on. So now we see 2 new guests on the table. We see good old L-tryptophan, 500 milligrams, helpful for serotonin. And we also see L-theanine, 100 milligrams, helpful for serotonin, but just a little less strong compared to L-tryptophan. So, believe it or not, I know it's been a long time, but that about wraps it up for today. Making a supplement plan, as you can see, not an easy process. When we try out these supplements, we got to take notes as to how effective they're being, how they're impacting us. Are they being efficient? Are they bringing more positive than negatives? It's a trial and error process, but the reason why I made this video is because a lot of people do want to try out supplements who have ADHD and other conditions too, but they might not know how to go about it. But they might not know how to go about it. So hopefully this video brought some insight as to how to create a supplement plan for yourself, or maybe someone you know with ADHD. So remember to talk to your doctor, your healthcare professional, to be on the safe side. Remember, I truly believe that supplements can really make a big difference. They have for me, and they have for people that I've worked with as well. So maybe they might for you, maybe they might not, but I really feel it's worth a try. Trying to tame ADHD and trying to really work on yourself. Those are 2 really cool things I really recommend more people to do. Hopefully this video was of some motivation for you to get help for yourself and your ADHD. Or maybe for a friend or family member who has ADHD. Anyway folks, this is Wilhelm, your ADHD comrade. Over and out.